Okay, in this session, we're gonna discuss uh, a bit more about few programming concepts. So, as you progress in your progress in learning programming, understanding how to structure interactions and data exchanges between classes and objects becomes increasingly important. So, this topic, which is the final section of the course, will go into some advanced topics to provide us with a solid foundation for expanding your programming skills. So the topics that will be covered uh, in this session are first is generic programming. So generic programming basically involves writing code that can work with any data type. It allows you to create flexible and reusable functions that and classes that can operate with different types of data without needing to be rewritten for each type. Um, well, why generic programming? Why it's useful? This approach reduces code duplication and increases the flexibility and maintainability of your code, making it easier to manage as your projects grow in complexity. And uh, delegates. Next is delegates. Delegates are types of pointers to methods. They are used in C sharp to encapsulate a reference to a method, typically one that performs a specific tasks in a variable. Uh, why they're important? Delegates are fundamental for designing extensible and flexible applications, particularly when you need to pass methods as arguments to other methods, or when designing sorry when you need to pass methods as arguments to other methods, or when designing event driven programs, uh, creating events and subscriptions. So this section will explore how to define and use events to allow different parts of a program to communicate with each other without being directly connected. And the benefit of this is events help in building loosely coupled applications, making your software easier to extend and maintain. Uh, Error handling, you'll learn about robust error handling mechanisms in C Sharp, including how to throw exceptions when something goes wrong, and how to catch these exceptions to prevent your program from crashing. So the purpose of this is effective error handling is crucial for building reliable and user-friendly applications. It ensures that your programs can cope with unexpected situations gracefully. And design patterns. So uh, design patterns are tested solutions to common software design problems you might encounter. So by understanding and using these patterns, you can improve the design of your game or software and solve some of the recurring design challenges in more efficient and effective ways. So as the last practical topic, this will help you with advanced tools and techniques that are essential for writing sophisticated, robust, and scalable uh, game or software. Each topic introduced here is foundational for any serious game development or software development, providing you with the knowledge to handle complex programming challenges confidently. Uh, After that, we'll conclude with a discussion on design patterns, setting you up to further refine and structure your approach to coding as you move beyond the basics. Um, so let's discuss about generics. So it's a powerful feature in C Sharp that allows you to write more flexible and reusable code. Let's break down of what generics are and how they work and why they are so useful in programming. So what are generics? Generics allow you to write a class, method, or variable that can work with any data type without compromising on type safety. So think of them as a way to create a blueprint that can adapt to whatever specific type you need it to be when you actually use it. So how do generics work? So when you define a generic class or method, you use a placeholder usually represented by the letter T, uh, instead of a specific type like int or string. So this T stands for type and can represent any type that you specify later when you use the class or method. uh, Let me put an example. Okay. So public class some generic collection. So in this example, some generic collection. Uh, Sorry, this whole thing. Okay. So this is a generic class, and the T is a type parameter that will be replaced by a concrete type when you create an instance of this class. So when you want to use this generic class, you specify the actual type you want it to work with, like this one. Yeah. So here, high scores is an instance of the sum generic collection, tailored specifically to store integers. So in this instance, t is replaced by int, but the operations within the sum generic collection would behave the same way if t were string, double, or any other type. So why use generics? Uh, Flexibility and reusability. So generics allow you to create a single class, method, or variable that can work with any type, making your code more flexible and reusable. You write the logic once and it can be applied to any type of data you need to work with. And type safety. So unlike using object types which require casting and can lead to runtime errors, generics provide compile time type checking. So this means errors are caught before the program runs, making your code safer and more robust. Performance. So using generics can also improve performance, since there is no need to cache types as you often must with non-generic collections like array list. So operations are more effective. So naming conventions. So while you can name your type parameter anything, using t is a standard convention that indicates it's a type placeholder. So if you have multiple type parameters, it's common to see names like t key or t value to provide more context, especially in key value scenarios. So generics are a fundamental concept in advanced C# programming, providing the ability to write more abstract yet highly efficient code. So understanding and implementing generics will significantly enhance your ability to handle diverse data types in complex systems, making your software solution more scalable and maintainable. Um, Next is generic inventory. So in this section, we're taking a practical step into generic programming. So by creating a custom generic class to manage a list of inventory items in a game. So this example explains how to set up and utilize a generic class within a C# script in Unity. So giving you a hands-on example of how generics can be applied in real-world programming scenarios. Uh, so we have a script called inventory list. So this script should be placed in the scripts folder of your Unity project, and the inventory list T class is designed to handle a list of items where T represents the type of elements the list will manage. So this could be strings, integers, game objects, etc. Depending on what you specify when creating an instance of the of the class. Uh, so the T this indicates that inventory list is a generic class. T is a placeholder for the type that will be specified upon the instantiation of the class. And we have a constructor. So when a new instance of inventory list is created, it logs a message saying generic list is initialized. This is a simple action confirming that the instance has been created successfully. And the next is creating an instance in the game behavior. So inside the start method of the game behavior class, which is a component attached to the game object in your Unity project. So the purpose is to basically to demonstrate the instantiation and usage of the inventory list within the game logic. So here we have inventory list string. Here inventory list is an instance of the inventory list, especially designed to hold strings. So by specifying the string, we are telling the program that t uh, t will be replaced with string, meaning the inventory list will manage a list of strings. So this example sets the groundwork for adding more complex functionalities to the inventory list class, such as adding, removing, and managing inventory items. So by defining it as a generic class, inventory list can be adapted to manage any type of item by simply changing the type parameter during instantiation, making it extremely versatile for game development. So some of the advantages, as I mentioned, flexibility. You can use same inventory list class to manage different types of items like weapons, tools, consumables without needing to write new code for each item type. And the type safety, so unlike using arrays or non-generic lists that store objects, using generic list uh, uh, using uh, generics ensure that only specified type of items can be added to the list, reducing runtime errors and the need of typecasting. And obviously clarity and maintainability. So using generics makes the code clearer and easier to maintain, as the operations on the inventory list are consistently defined regardless of the type of items it holds. So this approach not only introduces the basic concept of generics but also explains how they can effectively integrated into game development environment to create flexible and robust systems. So as you expand the inventory list class, you can add methods to manipulate the list, like adding or removing items, further exploring the powerful capabilities of generic programming. Um, that's about generic list. Next is generic methods. So in this section, we'll discuss about the concept of generic methods in C Sharp, which is a good tool that further enhances the flexibility and reusability of your code. So generic methods like generic classes allow you to write functions that can operate with any data type, maintaining type safety and reducing code duplication. So let's understand the what are generic methods? So a generic method is defined within the type parameter, which is a t. uh, so in its in its signature, which allows it to accept parameter of any type. um, so uh, here here t is a placeholder that will be replaced with any concrete type when the method is called, such as string, int, or any custom type. So you specify the type when calling the method, allowing the method to adapt to that uh, specific type. Like so yeah, in this example again, t is replaced with a string, and the method handles a string parameter. And you can also define method without new type parameters. Like so if a generic method is defined inside a generic class, it can use the class type parameter without declaring its own. Let me example. Yeah, so this method isn't generic in itself. It's a regular method that utilizes the generic type parameter defined by its class. So when using this method, the type is already specified by the instance of the generic class. uh, this one. Yeah, so here the non-generic method uses uh, int as its parameter type, and consistent with the some generic collection instantiation. So generic methods can be overloaded again by changing the number and the types of parameters, or the type parameters itself, uh, allowing for multiple versions under the same method name with different functionalities. And we have static generic methods. So generic methods can also be marked as static, meaning they belong to the class rather than an instance of the class, and can be called without creating an instance of the class. Um, so so next we'll discuss about an practical application. So the task for the practical application is you integrate a generic method into the inventory list script to handle diverse item types dynamically. Like you create a method to add new items to the inventory regardless of the item type. So yeah, generic methods are powerful feature for in C Sharp that extend the functionality of both generic and non-generic classes, making your code more adaptable and robust. So they are especially useful in scenarios where operations need to be performed on various types of data, enhancing the capability to build scalable and efficient software and game systems. Now let's look at the practical application. So so in this segment, we are basically expanding the functionality of our previously discussed the generic class, which is the inventory list, uh, uh, by adding methods that interact with the type parameter t. This example shows how to integrate both generic and non-generic methods within the generic class, which demonstrates practical applications in a game setting using Unity. So, Here we introduce a private variable, private field item of type T, which holds an item of the generic type. And we also have a public property, which is item, allows external access to this field, enabling other parts of the program to retrieve the item stored in the inventory list. And set item method, set item T new item is a method that allows you to uh, update the uh, item field with a new item of the uh, type T. So when an item is added, it logs a message indicating that new item has been added. Uh, in the game behavior script, so within the start method of the game behavior class, we create an instance of inventory list string, specifying that this particular list will hold items of type string. And using the set item method, uh, you we add a portion to the inventory. This demonstrates that the generic method handling a string consistent with the instantiation type. So the item added is then logged to the console, verifying that the item has been stored correctly. Um, again, advantages, flexibility. So the inventory list T can handle any types specified in the instantiation, here demonstrated with strings, but easily adaptable to other types like integers or custom objects. And type safety, so the set item method and the item property ensure that only the appropriate type as defined at the instantiation is handled, preventing any type mismatches and runtime errors. Maintainability, so by using a private field with a public getter, the class encapsulates the data, protecting it from unauthorized changes while still allowing read access. So this example explains how uh, generic uh, generics make your classes highly reusable and flexible, capable of handling various types without additional coding for each type. The use of generics here simplifies inventory management in game development, allowing for dynamic and type safe handling of diverse game items. The approach of integrating a simple method to add items showcases how generics can be practically applied to enhance functionality and maintainability of your code. Uh, next is so in this section we'll explore an important aspect of generic programming in C Sharp, which is the ability to constrain type parameters. So this concept enhances the versatility and the safety of generics by ensuring they are used only with appropriate types, aligning with the type with specific programming requirements. So, what does constraining type parameters mean? So, constraining a type parameter means specifying rules or limitation or limits on what types can be used with a generic class or method. So it's about setting boundaries to ensure that the generics work within the expected scope and behave as intended. So how do you apply constraints? So constraints are applied using a where keyword, so which followed by a condition that the type parameter must meet. So this is a syntax. Let me put. So this is a syntax in this structure. Again, T is a generic type parameter, and the constraint type can be a class, an interface, a struct, or another type that T must derive from or implement. So there are different types of constraints. We have class constraint, which is where T class, meaning it limits T to reference types. Excuse me. Reference types. T must be a class, and which is it's useful when you need to ensure that the type parameter can accept null as a value, which is a characteristic of reference types. Uh, and struct constraint, where T struct, uh, which means restricts T to value types. So T must be a struct. uh, it's useful, it's appropriate when you want the type parameter to represent data structures that store data directly. We have interface constraint, where T iManager, so which ensures T implements uh, the iManager interface. It's ideal for situations where T must support certain behaviors as defined by the interface, ensuring it has specific methods or properties. Uh, we have custom class constraint, where where T where T character, meaning requires T to be or derive from the character class. It's useful in scenarios like game development, where you in game development where you might need T to have certain fields or methods specific to the character class. And we have a base class constraint, where T u, meaning it specifies that T must be or derived from the type u. Um, it allows flexibility for T to be a base class or any of its subclasses, facilitating polymorphic behaviors. So why use type constraints? um, Safety. So it ensures that generic type parameters adheres to expected types, preventing runtime errors caused by incorrect type usage. Clarity makes the code clearer by explicitly stating the what types are expected, helping other developers understand the design intentions. Uh, Flexibility. So while constraints limit the types used with the generics, they also allow for more specific operations and method calls within the generic class, as as the compiler knows more about the type characteristics. So type constraints transform generic programming from one size fits all solution to a precise and tailored tool suited to specific programming needs. So by defining and what types are can be used with your generics, you ensure that your code remain robust and understandable, and also aligned with the structural and behavioral requirements of your applications. Uh, Next is delegates. So in this section, we're uh, we're going to discuss uh, more about functionality of type constraints. Excuse me. By applying a specific constraint to the inventory list, uh, which is a generic class. So the objective here uh, is to ensure that this class can only handle types that are classes, not structs or other types. So it's an excellent example of how to use constraints to control the flexibility of your generics and ensure they are used in the intended manner. So yeah, that's about constraints. We'll discuss now about delegates. So here, the concept of delegates in C sharp. Uh, Give me 1 minute. So the concept of delegates in C sharp, it's a powerful feature that allows you to treat methods as variables. So this capability is crucial for creating flexible and dynamic applications, especially when you need to pass methods around like data. So what is a delegate? Delegate is a type that safely encapsulates a method similar to a pointer in other programming languages. So delegates are particularly useful for implementing event handling and callback methods where you need to specify which method to call when a certain action occurs, like a button click in a UI. Uh, Basic syntax. Let me bring the syntax. So here, this line declares a new delegate type named delegate name that can hold references of any method that returns return type and takes two parameters, which is an int and a string. Uh, and So we are declaring a delegate instance here. So here some delegate is an instance of the delegate name, uh, of the delegate name, delegate type. So at this point it's like declaring a variable but for methods, and then assigning methods to delegates. So here, here matching method is assigned to some delegate. uh, Note that the method name is used without parentheses. Uh, this does not call the this does not call the method but assigns its reference to the delegate. So the method signature must match the delegate's signature, which is same return type and parameters. Uh, what else we have here? We have a some delegate. So when some delegate is called, it invokes matching method. This allows you to call matching method indirectly through some delegate. The delegate acts as a placeholder or a proxy for the method it references. Um, I- the the practical benefits of using delegates is flexibility. So delegates provide a way to pass methods as arguments to other methods, uh, store them as class members, or even use them to handle events dynamically. Decoupling, using delegates can help decouple components in a system by removing direct dependencies among them, leading to more maintainable and scalable code. Event handling, another benefit is event handling. So delegates are foundational in C sharp for event handling, uh, where a class can send notifications to other classes that something has happened without knowing about specifics of the receiver's methods. So understanding and utilizing delegates is an essential part of C sharp. They allow your programs to be more modular, flexible, and easier to manage by enabling methods to be handled like variables and passed around in your code. So as you progress, you'll find delegates are integral to many C sharp features, including a link, LI, NQ link, queries and event handling, making them indispensable for any developer. Uh, so we'll discuss the rest of the topics in the next session. Stop.